the job. Apparently, I can do the welcome to Luca's podcast. Did I break it? Did I break it? No, I didn't. We're good. We're good. Might not be invited
You
back.
you you do it better than I do, actually. You know, probably you are much better on the camera than I am. No,
I
thank you
doubt
very much,
it.
Cami, for coming. And I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased that we find the time to sit down and the next 45 minutes, hour, let's say, we're gonna spend it to dig down a little bit in who you are and what you've been doing. And because we're really curious, we know who you are today and what you're doing today. But you are what your past made you. So
100%.
right? So yeah, first of all, you're a great mom. You have two beautiful kids that you show me, and I don't know how you can manage to do mom, running a business, and do all the things you do. So answer the question.
I don't
How?
know. I don't know. I think you just get on with it. You find way through, you power through. And also for me, because I get this question a lot, oh my God, you have twins. Like, how do you do it? But I don't know any different. My introduction to motherhood was having two. So I do feel like a little bit of a firefighter sometimes. I'm putting out fires all at once, and there's definitely a lot of action. But I also think that my brain works like that. Like, I thrive on intensity and like big rush of energy, and so maybe I was made for it. Who knows?
I believe that you're really passionate about what you're doing.
I-
That's why you can do so
Yeah.
many things. I feel really much the same. What is the passion driven by on top of your kids and what you like?
I think, first of all, I do think that our industry in general is very much linked to, like, we're all passionate and creative in some ways. Like, I think I remember having this conversation with a friend of mine, and we were like, if you look at everyone in hospitality industry, everyone has like different backgrounds. Like, they come from music, acting, like learn like different things, and that makes our industry so rich in what we bring together, and everyone is passionate about it. Either you decided to come to hospitality as a career from the beginning, or if you ended up in hospitality because that was something you were doing on the side, and then you realized that you love it more than what you were trying to do on the other side. But I think that we are all very passionate, and probably because for me, hospitality, it's about human connection, gathering, celebrating, socializing, and what people do to relax, to have fun with their friend, is what we do for a living, And so I think that it blurs what is personal time and work a bit together. And that creates that you have to be passionate, and you have to be, really dedicated to what you do in this industry to thrive in this environment.
You said something which is so key, and you said, in this industry, we are a bunch of mixed personality that we are
Yeah.
coming from different things. What has been your past? What has been your childhood?
Yeah. So I grew up in the south of France, in beautiful, sunny south of France. I've actually moved around quite a bit. And even though I was born in the south of France, like, my dad is from North Africa. My dad is half Algerian. My mom lived in different countries. I lived in French Polynesia when I was a kid.
Wow.
My mom lived in Africa for many years. So I always feel like that I was raised in the south of France, but there was already a bit of a mixed and multicultural approach to my family. And then I come from a very artistic family. My dad was an artist. He was a dancer when I was born. He was dancing with a very big eagle. And then he moved on to theater, and he was writing plays, and he had his own theater, which means I grew up in a very creative world and environment, in the mix of, people designing costume for theater, doing incredible makeup,
Wow.
amazing artists. And I grew up very much like in the theater. Like my parents were working a lot, and I was kind of hanging out there all the time. There was always people, coming to our house to have meal, wine, all of it. And so I feel like that I was not raised by a community, but definitely raised in a very vibrant environment, and where hospitality was at the center of it, because there was always people around. We were always sharing meals, sharing experiences and connection. And then I think that creativity really led me to exploring my own. And so I went through different phases. I think when I was a kid, I wanted to be a singer. Then I realized that I couldn't sing. So that I quit like quite quickly. But then I wanted to be a dancer, and then I wanted to be a painter. And like I kind of like tried an experience with loads of different medium of arts. I went to an art school for a couple of years. And then I remember the first day that I put one foot behind the bar. And I bear in mind that like I study like communication. After the art school, I actually went on to studying marketing and communication.
So you were already in the university.
So I was already in university, and I did that. But I was still kind of like searching for that way of expressing my creativity. And I feel like that even though I had tried so many different things, it wasn't quite there. Like it wasn't really hitting the spots. And when I finished university, I moved to Melbourne. And I've already had like work in hospitality industry at that point. I've always worked in my dad's bar, like theater bar. So I was always like pouring pints and glasses of wine. But then I worked in like hospitality. I work as a waitress in restaurants since the age of like 14 or something like that. So that always has been part of my life. But it's not until I moved to Melbourne, and probably even before that, like at university, I was always the one making drinks at parties. I was always the one hanging out in the
had
kitchen.
It in the
like
DNA.
it was already there. Like I was already like really enjoying making drinks and things. But when I moved to Melbourne, I feel like that's where I really connected with that beautiful craft of making drinks. And I remember that moment where I put one foot behind the bar in an incredible cocktail bar in Melbourne that I love. And I started making cocktail. And there was like this moment, like this epiphany when I was like, maybe that's that. Like maybe my creativity is playing with flavor, is making something that tastes amazing, look beautiful, and allow people to have a moment of connection. Like I think for me, that the experience of getting people to have an amazing moment was a big part of what I love in hospitality industry and what I still love. I remember talking to a friend of mine who we were saying, being a bartender is almost being like a conductor of music, like you kind of like leading the music. And I love that. Like I love hosting. I love making food and drinks for friends. Like I've always loved that. But very much that moment in Melbourne when I started making cocktail, I was like, that's my way of being creative. And I think that creativity is really what I love throughout the years of being in this industry.
How come Melbourne? Like so far out from south of France, right?
So far out. How come Melbourne? Well, I finished university and I had the opportunity to go to university, but to work for companies at the same time in France. So I worked with different companies and I worked with different agencies throughout my degree. And one of them, they really wanted me to work with them, that agency, and they wanted to open one in Paris. But at the time, my English was none. Like I couldn't speak English at all. So I was like, well, give me 6 months. I'm going to go and travel, learn English and practice English. And then I come back and we can open that agency together. I mean, bear in mind, I was like 22, 23. And London at the time, I was like, London is too close. I want to go a bit further away. And I've always loved to travel. That's really something that I shared with my mother, especially because when my parents split up when I was a child, I then moved on to French Polynesia with my mom. And then I kind of moved back to France a bit and on and off. But my mother never moved back to France. So she stayed in French Polynesia. She lived on different islands. And then she moved to Senegal, to Africa. And then again, kind of like worked all around Africa in different countries. And we used to meet to travel together. So travel and like exploring different countries and culture was already something that I loved so much, and I was very fortunate to be able to experience as a child.
So for you, the world, it wasn't France. It was the world. It was big. You could go
Yeah.
anywhere, everywhere.
And it's funny because obviously now I've been living out of France for I don't even know how many years, but so many years, like over 15 years, 16, 17, something like that. And as much as like I do have a strong connection to French culture, and definitely there's so many things that I love about the French culture, but I don't feel like France is home. But probably because my roots were already blurred with like different origin from my dad and how I lived in different countries and my mom not living in France and all of this and all the travels and all the different places that we got to call home for a certain amount of time. But for me, home has always been about the people rather than a country. And even now, like France doesn't really feel like home. But Melbourne at the time, I was like, it's great. It's far. I can learn English. It's sunny. I had like, an opportunity to go there. And so I was like, I'm going to go.
Is your 6 months stayed 6 months, or they turned into a year, 2 year?
Oh, I never came back.
that's
I never made it back to France, actually. I never moved back to France. So from there, I landed, didn't know anyone, didn't speak a word of English. It was so bad. I managed to get a job in sort of like a chill nightclub, let's call it, if that's even the thing. And because I couldn't have, also, for my defense, Australian accent, when you start learning English, is not the easiest to grasp,
Champ.
And so I was like, I couldn't really hear with the music what people were saying, and definitely couldn't understand. And so I used to make people point on the menu to order. I'll be like, can you just point on the menu? And then it was so funny because not only I wasn't speaking English, but also I had zero knowledge in cocktails or in the bar industry whatsoever. And I will go to the bar and kind of try to mimic the sound that I thought I heard. So I'll be like, can I have 2 Cosmopolitan? And they'd be like, 2 what? Because it was so loud as well. 2 Cosmopolitan? And they'd be like, Cosmopolitan? I'll be like, yeah, that one too, because I didn't know the name of the cocktails or anything. And it was so funny. I don't even know how I kept the job. I didn't get fired after one day. But it was really amazing. And I get to meet so many incredible people. I really dive into that industry that I love. I learn and grow so much. And I have so many, big sisters and big brothers in Australia and in Melbourne in particular.
What's the best thing you like the most about Australia that you left there?
The people, really, and also the delicious food, especially the delicious Asian food they have there.
Yeah.
But I think it's the people that I love the most there. I just love how, Australians are really, and especially in the hospitality industry, maybe not in, all parts, but they were just really fun and direct and welcoming. And yeah, I've learned so much and I really had an amazing time. And for me, I remember moving to Australia, moving there without knowing anyone, started in a completely new industry. It was like a moment where not only I felt like that I could be really creative, but I also felt like I could be 100% myself. It was amazing to be able to feel that freedom.
Is that the main point, that it made you like step up? Like you've been a bartender, you've been a brand ambassador, and now you're a founder of your own business. Has been one of the things, you think?
In what sense? In like moving to...
No, the fact of being in Australia, it seems to be from your words that you felt like you wanted to learn, you felt comfortable.
Yeah.
The fact, what I'm trying to say is the fact that you felt free.
Yeah.
You felt really comfortable. This is the place where I wanted to be. Is it puts you in a position, it's like, okay, this is not just a job, whatever, for 6 months and going back.
Yeah.
But it's a job that it will be my career. And I wanted to understand from you if it has been the scenario.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a moment where I realized that this is what I wanted to do, that, that love for hosting and gathering, that, you know, connection to hospitality, that creativity through cocktails was something that I was so passionate about, and that felt like it was exactly what I wanted to do and what I was meant to do. I think after that, after a couple of years in Australia, I also realized that I wanted to integrate um, more of the things that I learned even at university. So that, marketing and communication degrees, that, all the things that I learned through social media, through PR, that I kind of wanted to integrate that. And quite rapidly, I realized that I loved being behind the bar, but I also wanted to represent the brand and to become an ambassador. And I actually got an opportunity quite rapidly because I started working with Saint Germain. I met the founder of Saint Germain when I was there, and then I had the opportunity to move to London, and to look after France as well with the brand. So it was kind of like an evolution, but it was quite funny because I remember how, I was quite young. I had like obviously worked in hospitality industry before, but started really in the cocktail world like 2-3 years before. And then I kind of like sat down and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Those are the brands that I could see myself represent. And I really like had an approach that was quite proactive. I think like I started to look at like who was distributing those brands that I wanted to represent, started emailing them, reaching out, be like, can we go for a coffee? Would love to meet you. And I think that like that was probably a bit of a different approach than what we see these days, where often the brands will go and like reach out, to
Portfolio
like,
approach.
yeah, to an individual things. For me, I was like, I had a plan, I had a mission. I was like, I am going to be an ambassador for ideally a French brand, to be able to like share, that culture and that heritage. And there was like a handful of brands that I wanted to represent, and
What
managed
do
to
you
do well.
take away from the experience that you had with Saint Germain that you still apply to this day?
I think, I mean, first of all, my years with Saint Germain were wonderful, but I think because I was hired by the founder, by Rob Cooper. And I wasn't in the US where the rest of the team was. So I was very much solo here, which gave me a lot of work, but also gave me a lot of freedom in how I was doing things, and really gave me that entrepreneurial mentality where I had to go and get it, go and build things from the ground up, because the team was in the US and I had to do everything here. Um, and that, problem solving, making small budget work, really building connection, made like, and also I moved to London. I didn't know anyone here. So like building a network, the power of community, and all of that is definitely things that I learned through my career with Saint Germain. And especially at the beginning when it was, such a small, like, we were all doing everything. And then I think my transition with Bacardi, and how I learned to keep that mentality of like, entrepreneurial small brand mentality. I had the opportunity to really protect the identity and the DNA of the brand for so many years, but then to also learn to grow how to grow a brand, how to scale a brand, how to have more support and structure, and had the amazing opportunity to expand my network to something that was much more global, being the global ambassador, to travel, to understand the differences between different countries, different culture, different style of drink, different, way that people will gather, way that people, what they will enjoy sipping. And I think that's something that I've really enjoyed so much. I always say that if I was to redo my career, I would be the host of a travel cooking show, because I just love good food, good drinks, and traveling. And I think that I had that experience with Saint Germain. Like I got to launch the brand in Japan and in China, and like, go to like so many, like go to like Central America, go to like build it all over in Europe, live in the US. Like I really got to experience so many different cultures, so many different style of hospitality, style of drink. And it was amazing to feel like that I had this beautiful connection and network that was global.
It's impressive because you said that when you travel the world and you understand the culture and you live the culture with the people and your brand, you're like, everyone's are so different.
So
And
different.
you know, you need to make sure that you go for the right thing, and then, you know, sometimes you try out, it may work out, may not.
Yeah.
Being a brand ambassador is as well stressful. I'm pretty sure. What has been the most stressful part for yourself? Because now you told us all the glamorous things and they're wonderful. But, you know, what has been the part that you lived that like, oh my God?
I think, I mean, there was so many things that were challenging. I think physically on the body, it takes a toll on the body. The constant travel, the lack of routine, the lack of structure, the jet lag, the, you know, being out and about, having delicious meals and amazing cocktail is so fabulous. But when you do it most nights of the week, you know, you're a bit like, I kind of want a night in. I want my couch. I want blend food. You know, I want water. And so, yeah, to keep up with the intensity of the role was challenging. I think it's also, as much as like you build this amazing, you know, network of people and, you know, you feel like you have this like global family, you also miss on so much of the daily life of your own life, you know.
Routine.
Yeah, the routine, but also to be able, I remember once coming back from, I can't even remember which country, but landing back and seeing that my friends were having a party and calling them and be like, you guys are having a party? And they were like, yeah, where are you? And I was like, well, I'm at home. And they're like, oh, crap, we didn't even think you were in London. You're never here. Oh, they were like, oh my God, come over. We thought you were abroad. And so it's really, you know, the maintaining friendship, the being, you know, maintaining relationship with your family. All of that is challenging when you constantly on a different schedule, traveling, and as much as like you have, you know, you land into any countries and you have people that you're so excited to see and like a community that you can connect with, but that connection is also connected to work, and it's not like
I'm not on holiday.
I'm not on holiday. It's not like, I used to say, if you want to catch up with me, let's just go down the road to the pub. I don't want to go to a cocktail bar. I don't want to, because my brain was always focused on like, do they have the brand? Is it in the cocktail? How, like, you know, I couldn't really switch off if I was going to any places that were connected to work, really. So it'd be like, let's just go to that place where
just leave it on the side.
I have nothing to do.
Do you think that the fact that you had a massive experience on the road, he lead you to be who you are today?
100%, yeah.
Because right now you found La Maison Wellness, and then you are really pushing and promoting the, you know, the work-life balance, no?
Yeah.
And how did you find this step up, I will say, because it's a better feeling for your own life, especially if you want to keep on growing, you know? And would you like to tell us a little bit how has been the switch in between one thing and the other?
I feel like there was kind of like a piece in the middle before La Maison Wellness, because I think being a global ambassador really made me realize the importance of our health, of having a bit structure, and how I needed to look after myself. And, you know, I was fortunate to have an incredible mother who was really into yoga and meditation and breath work and eating well. And she kept on telling me, you really need to practice yoga. You really need to do this. And as you know, when I was a teenager and when in my early 20s, I kept on rolling my eyes and be like, no, Mom, this is your thing, not mine. Unfortunately, she's not around anymore, but she will probably be laughing and be like, see,
sorry to hear.
I told you, that's what you needed to do. And so I think for me, I find my way and my balance through yoga, because yoga was something that I could do on the roads. I wasn't really a gym person at the time, and I couldn't really sign up for any other like clubs or whatever because I was traveling so much. When yoga was something that I could just do in my hotel room. You know, I used to travel with like a very small travel mat that I will fold. It was like the size of a shirt that I would put in my suitcase. And I would just practice yoga every morning when I woke up before going to events and stuff. So that was very much of like a shift for me on like started to look after my well-being. And then to that, everything kind of like trickled down to then started to look into, you know, my mental health and looking after my mental well-being, practicing breath work and a bit more meditation and becoming a bit more conscious of what I was eating and what I was drinking and things like that. But before I actually launched La Maison Wellness and realized that everyone needed to look after this, I was really passionate about helping people in the hospitality industry to look after ourselves, because I do think that, you know, there is that amazing creativity, connection, like community, but we also burn ourselves in this industry. We pour from an empty cup. We look after others before looking after ourselves. And the impact of that is we lose so many incredible people. Either some of them, we lose them as their health, and some of them decide that they can't survive in this industry, and so they change career. I mean, we have lost so many incredible bright stars and amazing human in our industry that unfortunately passed away from a lack of, you know, looking after themselves or being able to cope with the challenges of this industry, or some people that have decided that they won't be part of this industry anymore and change career just because it was too hard to find a balance. And so first, when I was still with Saint Germain, I built an amazing team of ambassadors, 40 people globally, and I was really passionate about making sure that they will find, you know, their balance and not burn out. And that was from, you know, making sure that they will exercise, they will, you know, not drink too much, eat well. And I was like training them and building this in the program that we were doing. Because for me, I didn't want them to be out and about all the time, to drink, to eat, to wake up late and just to feel crap. And the transition from bartending to ambassador is not always an easy one.
I must admit, it's really difficult.
It really is difficult.
It's really difficult because you understand, you know, how client mentality works, and then you need to understand how owner mentality works, client mentality works, colleague mentality works. You know, there is so many stakeholders attached to the brand, and
it's so hard because, and also it's really hard because all your friends then become the people you work with.
Your friends become the people you work with.
And that transition is challenging. You know, you're like, everything is a bit blurry. You're like, wait a second. And physically, you're less active because being behind a bar is physically, you know, challenging. You're moving, you're walking a lot, you're shaking cocktail. Like physically, it's demanding. But being an ambassador, you kind of lose that like active side. And so that combined with indulging more by, you know, taking people out for dinner, drinking more often, going to visit all your accounts. It is a transition that if you're not careful and conscious of it, you can easily lose yourself into it. And so for me, that was the first step, making sure that the team that I was building had a structure that was supportive of their physical, mental, and emotional well-being, and that they wouldn't burn themselves out. Then I started looking at the broader...
I've got a question on this.
Yeah.
How do you know you burned out?
How do you know you're burned out? That's a very good question. I think you know you're burned out when you feel like you're running on empty, when task feels like climbing a mountain, when you lose your drive and you lose sight of your purpose and your passion. I think I will say that when you feel that way, then you have burnout. It's like you haven't recharged your battery, and therefore you can't keep going.
And what's the best thing to do in that case? Because you can't stop the machine, can you?
I think that's what we think as a society. And I mean, don't get me wrong.
No,
I live
absolutely.
in London. I'm still stuck on that hamster wheel. And, you know, like, I don't feel like that I have stop of that hustle culture that we have, but I think that we need to change that, and we need to put structure, boundaries, support system, because otherwise it's just a tech until we can't give anymore. But it is challenging, especially because I do think that, like, in our society, we see success as, constant work and hustle. We see we very much in that, mentality that, like, it's about, like, how busy are you, and, like, we wear that as, like, a badge of, like, pride, when we should be able to celebrate, having time off and not doing much at the moment, actually, and that's okay. Like, but that is the opposite of what we celebrate in our society.
Yeah. And also, I would say that when you are really exposed out there, and in a way, like, you've been seeing by quite many people, you can call it follower, subscriber, friends, family. Sometimes it's really hard to say, like, I'm taking down this, like, I'm stepping down and I do this or do that, because of, probably the judgment, the society judgment that it comes along with it. And
The
you burn out.
expectation.
You burn out, but you keep on going, or you keep doing other, things related to that. It's really, really, really hard. And, we don't promote the fact of, you need to give up. For me, it's two different things. What I like to say is, like, you need to do what makes you happy, what drives you. One of the key words that you said, when you lose the purpose of what you are doing, that personally, just as a human being, for me, is the key. If I wake up and I feel the purpose in what I do, then is what drives me to keep on going.
100%.
And maybe I feel tired, maybe I feel a little bit overwhelmed, maybe I feel like different feelings, but the purpose is there. I feel like, this is like, is inside, I feel the
100%.
smile, to do it.
100%. And that kind of, like, get you through it. Like, yesterday I was filming some recipes and I was so tired. My boys woke up, like, many times during the night. We're all recovering from a virus. I've got migraines and sore throat, and I just wanted to be in bed. I just wanted to be in bed. And I was like, no, I'm doing this. I am filming some festive recipes for people to be able to have non-alcoholic or low-alcohol recipes for the festive season, in order for them to feel good and celebrate in the way they feel good. And I want to be able to put this out there for people so they have option. And that was, like, my drive and my purpose. And I carry through. And that I think that when you have a strong purpose, when you feel like that what you're doing is aligned with your value and is doing something good in the bigger picture, then it's a different game.
It's a different game. And I would like to say, because we just talked about it, is sometimes the fact of the purpose, it comes because you believe in it. Most of the time when you work with someone or you work for someone else, you feel different about it. Things are not that easy. He likes that, I don't like this, I need to do it. That is the moment where the burnout thing is start to get into your head, I think. Or at least, let's say, that's what happened to me, because when I work for things that I like to do, there is not, like, pain. Sometimes you're like, I need to work much harder for this, but in the end you're like, bloody hell, I made it, the team made it, we made it, and you feel like really, really positive. No, I want to talk about this because, as well, is overused the word I burned out. I took 2 weeks off and I went on holiday. It doesn't work really much like that. I mean, the holidays are great things to escape with your mind, with your body, feel relaxed. But it's not the cure for the burnout. The burnout is to have the right habits in place, like the well-being. You 100%. Said it. I've been doing yoga everywhere I was around the world. Like, find your 20 minutes, 50 minutes, 1 hour a day that you dedicated for yourself.
And I think it's about, and probably something that is lacking and that we're not really taught how to do, is to be able to listen to our body. Like, we kind of always seeking from this, like, quick fix. This like, I'm going to do this routine and everything's going to change. I'm going to take this supplement and everything's going to change. I'm going to start doing things and everything's going to change. But actually, balance isn't something that is like static. It isn't something that is just, this is how you do it. Balance is waking up in the morning and saying, okay, how am I feeling? How did I sleep last night? Should I go to the gym because actually moving my body is what I need right now? Or maybe actually sleeping 30 minutes extra and doing a gentle movement routine at home is better? Do I need to start my day with something that is really grounded and a bit of, meditation or breath work because I already feel like I'm too tired. I'm waking up and I'm not energized. Is starting the day saying, I'm going to start with making sure that like I fuel my body in the right way, not like grabbing a can of Red Bull and a cigarette, but rather having a protein, a breakfast with high protein, making sure that like you fuel your body. Like I was having this conversation yesterday and I said to my friend, don't you have those moments where like you just feel so tired or you feel like your brain is not really working and you're like trying to push through, and then you have like a large glass of water and then life becomes easier because actually you're just dehydrated, And I think sometimes we don't realize like we don't fuel our body correctly.
Correct.
Like if your foundation aren't solid, you can't build onto it. And so for me, I think that was the journey. It was the journey of understanding that I needed to look after my foundation, then wanted to inspire hospitality industry to do the same. And then realizing that actually this is not just for our industry, but for so many people around the world, and wanted to inspire more people to do that. And for me, what I realized over these years of being in hospitality industry, then becoming a yoga teacher, a meditation teacher, teaching, having like hosting retreats and all of this that I've done, that's a big part that was the missing piece of the puzzle in so many people's life was their relationship with alcohol. Because you can go to the gym every day. You can even pick up meditation and meditate every morning. You can make sure that like you eat good food. But if you drink too much, and too often, you're just still gonna feel like crap. If you go out every night after your shift, and you wake up with even just a slight hangover, and once a week maybe a bigger one, you're just gonna feel stuck. And so I think that understanding that what we drink has a big impact on the full picture, not just for our health and our well-being, because we know what happened, but more of how it is linked to everything else in our life. We know that, if you drink too much after one shift, you're going to wake up probably later. You're probably going to skip the gym. You're probably going to feel a bit more tired. You're probably going to have a bit of a cloudy head or a headache. You probably not going to eat the right things because your body is like, fix me right now, and you're going to go for a quick fix. You're going to go for things that aren't really deeply fueling your body. Your body is already dehydrated from the alcohol that you drank the night before, the lack of water you probably drank the night before. And so all of that kind of snowball and has a bigger impact. And so for me, when I launched La Maison Wellness, it was about showing people how to drink well, either with incorporating some alcohol-free option throughout your evening, throughout your celebration, or drinking alcoholic beverage, but in a better way, with, lower ABV option, with lighter, like less amount of alcohol in the glass, with better ingredients in the glass. I always I see people choosing like a more premium spirits, but then, filling it with like a crappy tonic water that is packed with sugar or that is packed with artificial flavor. And so it's not about saying that like sugar is bad and we should not have it, because I really don't believe that. But it's about becoming more mindful of what we drink has a big impact on how we feel, on how we connect with others, and on the big picture of our well-being. And for me, that became my purpose of showing people how to drink well in order to live well.
Define for me, because it's understandable, but what it means healthy hedonist to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think healthy is you feel like that it has to be only eating well and only, drinking this and not having this. And we are bombarding by information and misinformation. Actually, I was reading that only 4% of nutritional information on TikTok are funded. They're actually true. So we constantly
I'm not surprised.
No, because we're constantly bombarded by like things, you shouldn't eat this and you shouldn't eat that and you shouldn't eat it. And for me, I love this idea of like hedonist. I come from this house of friends. I come from a family where sitting around the table, eating good food, good drinks, good conversation, it's a big part of like how I enjoy living. And I wanted to keep this, but I wanted to do it through a lens of how can we make it more mindful? How can we make it healthier? How can we be more conscious of the decision that we make and make better decisions? Small tweak every day that can help build this sense of feeling better and having a better well-being. So for me, that healthy hedonist is someone who loves good things, but also want to feel good.
Do you think brands today, they're missing out something when it comes to healthy hedonist?
I think that's a very good question. I think so, because I think that it's still divided. I think that a lot of the non-alcoholic brand will tend to go onto more the healthy side and all of that. And then the hedonist is that more indulgent and not especially. And I think that there is a way and there is more opportunities. And I actually think that that's more and more what people want to experience. And if I was to expand on your question, I think our industry is missing out on the big picture of how the consumer is changing. And even for me, like if I reflect and I look back on my experience and my journey in hospitality industry, I mean, when I launched La Maison Wellness, people thought I was crazy. First, they didn't understand what I was doing. They were like, so you're becoming a yoga teacher? And I was like, oh, no. Yoga is a side thing. Like yoga is just another way to help and support people. But this is not what I'm doing. And I came from, being a global ambassador for a brand that people love and enjoy. I came from just winning Tales of the Cocktail Best International Brand Ambassador to then launching something that felt completely like different in the industry. And at that time there was Sidlip that had just launched, and Claire Warner, who was like working on Acorn and kind of in that space, but there was no one else. And so people didn't understand. They were like, there was a real resistance to non-alc and to low alc. And it was uncomfortable. I brought conversation that were uncomfortable, and it was challenging for me to, feel like that I was still part of this community when I wanted this community to evolve and to grow and to change in some capacity. And I think that today we are still not doing a great job at evolving with what the consumer wants.
Don't you think that sometimes it feels like a trend? I hate this word. Mm-hmm. That's why I was trying to think a different one, because sometimes I feel like bars, brand, they grow their portfolio, they put it on their menu, these things just to have it. Yeah. But I'm like, you don't embrace it in a way that make it feel like you're proud of it. Don't just like put it there because you have to. Because maybe someone out there, a millennial or whatever, will order it. You know what I'm trying to say? Don't you feel like has been a trend, and I'm like, okay, to be a trend and turn into something that it's part of the culture in its own time, and it needs to go down, it needs to go up, it needs to go down, has been a really, really new thing. Yeah. Maybe given time, things can go better. And don't you think that next to that as well is the habits, as you said, about people eating well? Because we talk a lot about what drink does to people, but believe me, the worst things come from what you eat, not from what you drink. You drink less than what you eat. And it's something
that connected though.
Yes, they're connected.
And I agree. I don't I definitely think that we say you are what you eat, and so what we eat has an amazing and a huge impact on our well-being, but I will put what we drink in the same buckets, because it also has an impact. And I don't think it's a trend. I think that people would like to think it's a trend. I also don't think that people will stop drinking. I think that the way that people drink is changing. I think that human connection is at the heart of hospitality, and people want to gather, they want to celebrate. Their drinking habits are changing, and that's just a fact. I mean, if you look at numbers around the world, people are drinking less, choosing lower ABV, choosing better quality. They are more conscious in how they're consuming. Not every single person, but we're in the UK right now, 74% of the population in the UK is currently actively moderating. 74% of the population.
74.
74. That's a pretty high number that we're not really taking in consideration in hospitality. And that's not by saying, oh, we have one non-alcoholic cocktail on the menu. It's by really embracing that and being hospitable and welcoming to every type of guest. There is things like zebra striping. I don't know if you heard of that term, but it's people alternating between alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverage during an evening. And that's not having a drink and then having water. It's having an alcoholic cocktail and then a non-alcoholic cocktail or a non-alcoholic drink as a way to pace yourself throughout the evening. And I think that what we don't realize is that we're not providing the experience for people to be able to drink the way that they want, to be able to guide them, to be able to offer them delicious cocktail. And yes, making non-alcoholic cocktail or even in some extent some low ABV cocktail can be more challenging because of the availability of the product, the product that we have today. But we talk about flavor. We work with flavor. And I think that actually creating amazing non-alcoholic cocktails should be a challenge that people take on. And we should be able to have spaces where people can gather, drink the way that they want, sit at the same table, regardless. If we were going out tonight and having a delicious drink somewhere, who gives a crap if mine is non-alcoholic and yours is alcoholic? Like, who gives a crap about the ABV in the glass? Like, yes. I should be able to have the same experience that you are going out. And I think that what we see is because people want to drink less, the way that they do it is by going out less. It's like, oh, I'm not going to go out on Monday, Tuesday, blah, 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 because I'm going to go out this weekend. I want people to go out, because that not going out is what is adding on to that loneliness, that global loneliness, because people should go out after work for a beer, and they can drink an alcohol-free beer. There's plenty out there. They should go out for whatever gathering. And I think that because we're not fully embracing this category and having a strong offering with alcoholic, non-alcoholic, low ABV, and the whole spectrum on the menu, and really do not just putting it on the menu, but making it a part of the culture in our bar, making it a part of how people enjoy it. Like I always say, I really want our industry to start welcoming people into bars, restaurants, hotels around the world by saying, would you like to start with something alcoholic or non-alcoholic tonight, today, whatever it is? That sentence just say, you have the option, we have the option, and you can choose whatever works for you. It's validating, is giving the information, and is really allowing the guests to be able to have the experience that they want. And I think for me, the challenge is that our industry is not evolving. It is evolving, but not fully embracing. And I think that what you say, is it a trend, is because people aren't putting the same passion, purpose, effort into really making it not just a part of their menu, but a part of their culture. I want people to know that they can go out and not drink alcohol, or drink less alcohol, or alternate, or whatever they want to do.
The gathering is more important than what you're drinking.
100%. 100%.
We've been, I think, go through the topic quite widely, and it's unbelievable how much we can talk about it. For a new professional, a bartender that just starting the job, what it will be the best recommendation that you will give it to them to be balanced in what they're doing and be successful on their craft in hospitality?
Oh, I mean, I feel like that's a whole podcast by itself, you know. As I will say, knowledge is so important, but it's not everything. Hospitality and being able to make people feel at home is a big part of what we do. I had this conversation when I was in Athens. I said, I'm going to make a t-shirt that says less clarification, more conversation. I love a clarified cocktail. Don't go after me. But people are so focused on the technique of the drink, of clarifying and doing things, that they forget about the connection, the conversation with the guest, the hospitality. That's why people come to the bar as well. It's for that moment of connection. And so if I was, saying to someone who's new in the industry, is learn your craft, build your knowledge, absolutely learn your technique, but don't forget about this really important side of our industry, which is about hosting, welcoming, leading that gathering for people to have. And then look after yourself. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. And if you are serious about your career in this industry, you want to be able to do it in the long run. You want to be able to, sustain throughout different chapter of your life. Yes, when you're 20 and you love it and you have no responsibility and you can go out every single night of the week if you want. But also when, you want to open your own bar and you have more responsibility. When you start a family and you have more responsibility and more, challenges with your schedule. When all the different chapter of your life where you want to be able to stay in this industry and remain in this industry. And I think that's by finding your balance from the beginning, looking after yourself, building your community that doesn't have to be the entire community, but really finding your people in this industry, and also maintaining a sort of life outside our industry. I think that sometime in our industry, everything revolve around our industry. Your best friend is in the industry, your family, your partner, your whatever, and then you kind of exist in this like little bubble. And so having some hobby that aren't drinks related, having maybe some friends that aren't part of this industry that give you a different perspective and something else, maybe making sure that you maintain your relationship with your family and that you still protect the time with them, that will really help on maintaining your balance.
So guys, listen carefully because it's an unbelievable explanation. I think what is really essential is to understand that it's not just one thing to done well, but you can do many little things and you keep yourself updated, you have great knowledge, but the great service, you said it, but as well, keep yourself out of those trashy night. And not at all time, but sometimes, at least for a certain amount of time, because I personally feel like when I stepped into the bartending world, everything, it looked so glamorous and he looked wonderful. I love this industry from the inside out. Even to this day, it gave me so many good things, so many bad things, but in the end, I feel like I'm in love. But at the same time, as you said, you are growing. And you want to have an opportunity to not just be in the same position, in the same things, doing the same stuff over and over and over and over, that your brain, it doesn't think anything else, but growing, molded as you feel like,
And that will keep you excited. That will keep, you feeling like you have a purpose. Because when you stop growing and learning, you lose interest. And I think that sometimes we feel like that there's one lane. when there isn't. And if I look back on my journey, when I launched La Maison Wellness, people thought that I was crazy. Like, generally, they were like, this is so stupid. You have the dream job. What are you doing? And I believe in it. I believe in the purpose. And I believe that I was, meant to do something that was bigger and greater for what I see as making a positive impact on changing the drinking culture globally. And so don't think that like you have to stay in this like guideline and guideline, like you can reinvent yourself anytime that you want. You can do things differently. Like, it's not because it's never been done that it can't be done. Like, I think that that creativity that we have in our industry, we have to use it in thinking outside the box, in doing things differently. And I think now, even more so, as the consumer and the guest are, wanted to gather in a different way. I mean, I went to I was about to say sober rave, but it wasn't really a sober rave. I went to a massive event where it was DJ, live music, red. The entire room was like red because it was red light therapy panel. So I came out with like the most glowing skin. And all the drinks were like alcohol free, but they were all functional. They were going around with like gummies of like adaptogens and medicinal mushroom for people to have like this. And then the after party was like in a sauna and cold plunge at like 3 a.m. Like, people are gathering in a different way. And that doesn't mean that like bars have to do that now. But what I'm saying is like it's evolving. And so we have to think outside of the box. We have to evolve. Like, this is not, like prohibition, speakeasy, like, we can evolve in the way that like we offer hospitality, we create drinks, and we offer an experience to our guests, because I think that there is an evolution that is needed to happen in our industry.
So how can you help to think outside the box? Because not everybody think like, oh yeah, I can do that. Most of the people in our industry, they like to take something and replicate it exactly the same. But what has been your creative process to think outside the box? How would you advise someone out there? Maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really good question. And I think that like we all have different ways. My way of being creative is having a terrible relationship with sleep and a lot of insomnia, because my brain is so active. I go to bed and I come up with like 3 different business ideas and loads of events and create like 20 cocktails in my mind, but so I have a very active brain. And for me, it's like putting it down, writing it down, talking to people, sharing ideas, trying things out. Might not work. Like, do a little pop-up.
Do it.
Do something. I think that like, I'm a big fan of like, risk is better than regrets. And like, try. It's okay to fail. You will learn so much. And I think that sometimes we're just so conscious, especially in the world that is like constantly under camera, with like social media and all of it, and everything is like recorded, that we feel like that we have to be the perfect version, like the final product. No, like, share the bits in between, the messy part, the ugly part, the trying to think of an idea. But if you have an idea, share it on social media and be like, what do you guys think about this? Like, I really believe that it's okay to not be everyone's cup of tea, and it's okay to not be for everyone. And you will align and attract the people that have similar values of you. And that's how you build meaningful connection and real and authentic communities.
It's really impressive what you're saying. Like-minded people, that's how it is, and that's how it works out. Well, out of all of this, like when it comes to be an entrepreneur, because you are an entrepreneur, you are a consultant, you do so many things. Don't you feel that sometimes it's really scary? And, how do you go through? Because I'm pretty sure you have ups and downs,
Oh, yeah.
Job is not there every day, right? Things to do are not every day. I know because I live it in first person. So I know, how do you manage this part that nobody talks about it?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a woman which is not always easy to run a business. I'm a mother. I'm a mother of young children, which is a phase of life where they are really demanding. Um, I have a wonderful neurodiverse brain, which is my ADHD means that I have days where I'm like, I can hyper focus and be so creative and so on it. And then I have days where I need to do nothing. And I have to navigate all of this. I have to navigate the pressure of running a business with uncertainty and the insecurity that means. I have to embrace the, sometimes wanted to go way faster than I am and wanted to build way bigger, but not having the structure, the system, the space, the time to do it. And sometimes, wanted to slow down and actually being able to, just be with my kids more. And for me, all of this is finding the balance that works for myself. Like, there's commitment and things that you have to do. Like next week, I have to go to France for an event and a project and a consultancy that I'm doing, and I'm missing my kids' Christmas party. I'm devastated. I'm actually devastated about it. And I had to ask myself, am I okay with this? Is this something that I can, find a way through? And so sometimes there's commitments that you have to face. And it's not like, I agree that when you do something that feels really aligned with your value and is your true purpose, it doesn't feel like, heavy work and you smile, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be a walk through the park every day. There's part of the job that needs to be done that isn't especially what you enjoy doing. And there is commitment that will have an impact on your life, like missing your kids' Christmas party, hours of, late night working, maybe less time with my partner that I would like to, or less of a social life that I would like to. I believe, that whole saying, and especially for women, but you can have it all. I believe that you can have it all at different time. You can't have it all at once. Yeah, there's different chapter and different moments. And sometimes it's, your work is like the priority. Sometimes the family is the priority, the social life. And so you kind of have to make your own recipe that works for yourself. And so for me, I have some boundaries. There's things that for example, I don't work on Mondays because my partner works pretty much every single weekend, that I'm solo with my kids pretty much every single weekend, and that we did for too long. He ran his business, I ran mine, and we realized we didn't have any family time. And so I say, stop, this can't work. And so now Mondays, the kids don't go to preschool, and we don't work because Mondays are our family day. And so that was a big commitment and a big things. And especially as, again, a woman, a mom, someone who's self-employed, having to put boundaries around, work and be like, no, sorry, I can't work on Mondays. No, I can't do that. It's huge, but that's a commitment that is so essential to the well-being of my family, that has an impact on my well-being, that has an impact on my work. And so for me, that was something really important. So you kind of have to find the balance and to understand that, again, this is in the long run. And what is important right now? What is the big picture? Where are you trying to go? And what do you need? I am totally comfortable now with knowing that there's days where I can work, 18 hours, 20 hours and power through crazy amount of work. And there's days where you will find me on my couch doing emails because I need real time to recharge. I know that this is how my brain works. I know that this is how I operate. And I have found the recipe that works for me, but that is unique to each and every individual.
It's impressive because we're really similar on certain things are really similar. To me, it happened the same, but it goes by season. When the season is start to get May, June, July, it's where my brain is sometimes stopped operating in certain parts. But then during the period of cold, rain, darkness is overperforming.
You live in the perfect country for it.
That's why I
Good
don't want to
choice.
move. That's why I don't want to move from London. But yeah, tell me something that I'm really curious, because you talk about your family.
Mhm.
What has been the best learning that you take away from your family, from your father, your mother?
I think I have become even more focused and productive in the way that I work, because I don't have time to mess around. I don't have time. Like, I often, I mean, you may have seen me at like most of like the big event this year, Tales of the Cocktail, BCB, Aten Bar Show, all of them. I go, I love that I get to go. I never stay for the whole time. I come, I take a very early flight in the morning to arrive, and then I leave before the end. I stay there for the amount of work that I need to do. I don't stay there just to stay there. I don't hang around because I want to go home and be with my family. I want to be there for my children. And I think that approach to doing things, like, it's like I have distilled my work. Like, I do things in a very productive, very like quick way, because I don't have time to just faff around and
What's
chill.
necessary and what's possible.
Exactly. And then, like, if I don't need to be there, I need to be home. And that's very much of like the way that I work. And I think that before, I used to be a yes person. I will say yes to everything. I will go everywhere. I will do, whatever. Like, there was no much boundaries. And now I'm much clearer about how I do things. And that doesn't mean that, like, I don't want to be there, or it's just like I'm there for what is necessary for me to be there for.
Yeah.
And then I go home. And I put my kids to bed,
Yes,
and I wake up,
we are on the same.
and I see their
Thank you
cute
very
little
much.
face.
Grazie.
Yeah.
I'm going.
See ya.
See you.
Exactly.
Tell me something else. I really feel you are an innovator in our industry, because you didn't invent something new, but what you did and you understood is the necessity of something which is really important, the balance of our industry. How would you see your legacy looking like in the following years? Or how would you like to leave your legacy to this hospitality business?
Can someone else answer this question for me?
Look, if Salvatore will be around, he will pop in and say,
There
my
it
legacy,
goes.
I see it as.
Yeah. I think I would like to see my legacy as a change in the drinking culture. I want to see my legacy as hospitality being much more inclusive, and if I see, our industry, if you look at like younger generation of bartenders, they are already looking after themselves better. They are, I was in Aten, and I was talking with a bartender from a bar in Barcelona, and he was like, I run all the time, and I just sign up for 100K, and my business partner is run triathlon, and like my friend in Germany like cycle every weekend. Like, I feel like that even this whole thing of like sweat check that we started doing and all of that, like, I do think that we have shown that looking after our physical well-being was really important, and that is being reflected on younger generation. So I do think that already we've had an impact. I mean, from launching Healthy Hospo with Tim to now, like, it's or having like
The problem is our generation, basically.
no, but I mean, there's other challenges with other generation, but like, I do think that, like, with Saint Germain, we had this like fitness and wellness event, like all the brands have done it. Like, I think we did change a little bit. So that already is a positive impact that we had on the industry. I think for me, the legacy that I would like to see is bars and restaurants being much more inclusive. No and low being a part of the culture and the offering, and our relationship with alcohol changing for the better in hospitality industry as well, because I do think that this is kind of the elephant in the room that we're not talking about. And again, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against alcohol. Like, people think that like, or like I create like friction and agitation. And I am someone who still go out. Like I was in Attenborough out until 6 in the morning drinking alcohol-free drinks. Like this is not like I don't need the alcohol, and I also don't. My journey and my it's not about sobriety. My journey is not about recovery. Like it's not I hit rock bottom and I needed to change my relationship with alcohol. I just think that we can benefit from having a better relationship with alcohol. Like I always say, doctors don't pop pills every day all the time. I mean, probably some do, but you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like
yeah.
we don't have to overindulge in our industry just because we work with alcohol. And I think that in moderation, done with great product in the right way, it's a great way to do it. But we do have to be more conscious. And so I do think that I would like to see drinking culture changing for the better, more inclusive offering and experiences, and non-alc being a bigger part of the culture in our industry. Even things like having non-alcoholic option. Like I went to so many bar shows this year, so many like guest shift. There was no non-alcoholic offering. Like I get it, but still, like we should like be able to be more inclusive and to bring this as part of our culture. And then our industry addressing the overconsumption that we have in our industry.
Wow. I have to say that out of this chat that we had, learned so much personally. And, I also feel certain things are really in common, probably because we are in a phase of our life really similar.
That's
No,
sort of what you were about to say. Probably because we're just a bit old
no,
now,
we'll
we're a
never
bit the
say
older
that.
generation
We
now.
rock and roll still like when we were 18. So don't worry about that. I've got, I think, the last question. If you could sum up your philosophy and about the drinking, would you like to tell me just one little sentence that will define it?
And that would be my tagline that I'll put on everything. What would be? I think for me, my approach is what would be my approach? I mean, there's so many different things that I say. I say, epic nights and early mornings, because I love this idea of like, I want epic nights. Like I want to go out. I want amazing drinks, delicious food, amazing, connection and gathering. I also want to be able to get up early in the morning and feel good. And so for me, I will say that it's about enjoying the present moment, but also knowing that you will feel good the day after. It's like I always say, drink today, remembering tomorrow. There's like, and I think that if you have this approach of knowing like it's about celebration and feeling good, but also I don't like the concept of having to pay the price the day after. I don't think that is doing good to anyone. I also, as someone who has changed, my relationship with alcohol over the last decades, having moments of moderation, moments where I wasn't drinking at all. And now, like, I don't call myself sober because I don't associate with that, but I do have mostly an alcohol-free lifestyle. I think that I am so much more empowered, aligned with who I am and myself. I don't stick around in places that I don't need to be. I don't try to fit in places where I don't belong. And I think I have better relationship with people because I have more meaningful, authentic relationship, not, 3 a.m. bullshit conversation that makes no sense because everyone has had one too many.
You said it all. Is there anything that you would like to tell us? Some news, anything is happening that you would like to share it?
No, I feel like that I am entering a new phase. Like my kids will be 4 in March. Like I feel like that I am entering a new phase of life. And actually, like, I love what I do. I love what I do as a consultant, working with helping brands to develop no and low product, helping them to build their global communication, marketing, advocacy programming. I love what I do with all the trade shows and bringing education and inspiration for no and low. I love what I do with bars and restaurants and helping them developing their offering. But I do feel like that there is, something like I have a mindful drinking program where I coach people through changing their relationship with alcohol, where I teach that method that I created called the remove, replace, reduce. But I feel like that there is something else that will be brewing soon. I don't know what it is, but something. Hopefully.
Maybe we're gonna do part 2. Look at the
Yeah.
podcast part 2, and
Love
you're gonna
that.
just focus on that.
I mean, give me a mic and a nice person to chat with, and I do that.
That's it.
Next time we can have delicious no and low cocktail.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Camille. Thank you
so much for having me.